Welcome to Landscape Photo Editing Sessions. I'm Raitea Arkari. In this episode, I'm going to show you my Milky Way processing workflow. Recently, I've been getting into astrophotography because the Milky Way is now visible in the night sky. I went camping on Mauna Loa for a night and got this shot. I wasn't expecting it to be below freezing there, but it was. So, I'm going to get started. So I took multiple exposures, 7 of them to be exact. And I'm going to be stacking them to reduce noise since I'm taking this on an APS-C size sensored camera, Sony a6000. So I take multiple shots so I can stack them later. So I have my 7 shots open in Camera Raw and I'm going to start editing them. So the first thing I do is remove the vignetting, and I'm just going to do a strong contrast curve. And that'll make it easier for me to remove the vignetting. So I'm going to go to the lens corrections and go to the manual tab and just increase the amount until it's removed. I'm going to decrease the midpoint, maybe a little bit more in the amount. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to reset that to linear, and now I'm going to start doing the basic editing. So the first thing I want to do is fix the white balance, and to do this I'm going to increase the vibrance and saturation so I can easily see how the temperature affects the color. So I want to kind of get a neutral look, but I also prefer a kind of a cooler temperature for the night sky. So it's really green right now, so I'm just gonna increase the magenta tint to balance out the green. I'm also gonna make the temperature a bit cooler. Maybe step back on the tint, make it a little bit cooler. So this is all subjective, so you can make the Milky Way whatever color you want, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and reset these back, and I want to increase the contrast, so this will boost the Milky Way a little bit. I also want to increase the white. That'll also increase the contrast and bring out more detail within the Milky Way. I'm also going to take down the exposure by 1 stop because I like doing all my adjustments in Photoshop later. And then I'm going to increase the blacks just a little bit and also the shadows. So I just want to get a little bit more detail in the foreground. And then I'm going to increase the vibrance to around 30, so that'll bring out more detail in the Milky Way, more color. And notice how there's some fringing going on over here. I'm just going to leave it because I actually like the look of the fringing. And the last thing I want to do is adjust the colors a little bit with the HSL tab. I'm going to change the hues, so I want to get rid of the purples because the white balance up here was pretty weird. I guess maybe it's because it was at around 11,000 feet elevation, so maybe the atmosphere is different. But I'm going to change the purples to a little bit more blue. So notice how the fringing turned blue, and also the center part of the Milky Way kind of neutralized the color and made it more blue. I also want to make the yellows, actually the aquas, more blue too, and also the greens more to make it more aqua. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think I want to make it a little bit more magenta. Just a tiny bit. And just make it, yeah. Okay, looks good now, and now I'm gonna select all of them and synchronize them. And now I'll open all of them in Photoshop. Once they're open in Photoshop, I'm going to go to File, Scripts, and Load Files into Stack. Add the open files and OK. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is solo the bottom layer and add a layer mask. And then use the brush tool, use a hardness of 100%, and just I'm going to brush along the foreground. So I want to make the foreground hidden. And then I'm going to copy the layer mask to the other layers by holding down the Alt button and then just dragging it up. So for each layer, and then I can just make all the layers visible, select all of them, go to Edit, Auto Align Layers, and what I'm doing is aligning the layer since the Earth is moving around. I want to auto align all the layers so that the stars are aligned, and that's why I took away the foreground, so it didn't use the foreground as a reference point for the auto align function. So the best thing I found is the spherical setting, and previously I've been doing perspective, which is what the auto thinks, but I found spherical does the best job of aligning all the stars. But you only sometimes I might run into problems with the foreground or it distorting a little bit too much, so maybe I'll do auto sometimes, but for now I'm gonna do the spherical, and that's gonna align all the stars together. Alright, next I'm going to delete all of the layer mask. And then I'm gonna convert it to a smart object. All the layers. I'm gonna go to Filter, Adaptive Wide Angle to fix the distortion. I'm just going to drag along the top, sides, and I'm also going to click on the lines and make sure that they're at 0 degrees. Make sure that they're all square. Make sure the side ones are at 90 degrees. And then bring the scale back up. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is go to Layer, Smart Objects, and change the stack mode to median. So the median stack mode will basically remove all the noise from the image by stacking the 7 layers. So notice how all the stars are noise free, but compared to the other stack mode called mean, the median function takes in the account for moving objects like the foreground, and now the foreground isn't all blurry, so that's a good thing. And then I'm just gonna do a crop. And I'm also gonna rasterize the layer. Alright, now I'm gonna start adjusting the Milky Way, so to bring out more detail. So I'm gonna be using curve adjustments, and the first thing I want to do actually is increase the contrast of the whole image. So I'm gonna find the brightest part of the image, click on it, and then go to a more neutral area of the sky and just bring it down using the picker tool. Bring it down until I think the contrast looks good. Okay, that looks good, and I'm gonna create another curves adjustment layer. And now I want to bring out more detail within these galactic clouds. So I want to go to a kind of a midtones area, bring up the exposure a little bit, and then go to this dark part and bring it down. And now I want to invert that layer and paint on the areas myself with the brush tool. So I'm going to go to the hardness, back to 0, reduce the size, and then just paint on the areas I want to be affected by the curves adjustment. I'm going to change the opacity back maybe down 30% and just start doing just minor adjustments to some of the areas now. And that made a big difference. So it really made the Milky Way pop a little bit more. Alright, next thing I want to do is make even more contrast. So I'm just gonna do the bright area of the Milky Way now, and go to one of these dark areas right here and just make another S curve to increase the contrast. And then invert the layer and do some more selective adjusting. I'm going to bring the opacity back up and then just paint on the parts I want the contrast. Alright, one quick thing, I'm noticing a green color cast within this bottom part of the Milky Way. So I'm going to go to color balance and just do the increase or the magenta, and then the blue maybe a little bit. Invert that mask and then just paint on the area with the green color cast to fix it. Alright, so that's really looking good right now. And I'm also gonna, it's a little bit bright in this lower corner over here. So I'm just gonna use a curve adjustment, bring down the exposure, invert the mask, use a large soft brush, and paint in that area. And I think the opacity needs to be reduced a little bit. Okay. The next thing I want to do is bring out more color within the Milky Way. So I kind of want to make it a little bit more red, orange. So I'm just going to do a curve adjustment layer and go to the drop down menu for the RGB and choose the red channel, and I'm going to go to the kind of the highlights of the galactic core and just increase it just a little bit. I'm going to go to the shadows, bring that down just to the 0% or, and then I'm going to go to the greens and just reduce the greens just a little bit. Control I to invert the mask, and then paint on the areas I want the color to be changed. And I'm just gonna make the opacity maybe around 70%. Alright, next thing I want to do is brighten up the foreground. So I'm just gonna go to my bottom layer, select it, go to my quick selection tool, select the sky, Control Shift I and invert the selection. And then go to the refine edge. I'm going to increase the radius a little bit. I'm going to smooth out the selection just a bit and feather it out 1 pixel. Okay, and I'm going to go to each of my adjustment layers with a black color, and I'm going to press the Alt button and delete to fill the selection with black. So I'm just going to do that with all of them. Okay. And then I'm going to make another curve adjustment. This time I want to just increase the foreground brightness. So I want to increase the brightness for the foreground, and I'm also gonna take the selection from that curve adjustment and mask it. So I'm going to fill it with black, the sky, and now only the foreground's going to be brightened. And maybe it's a little bit too bright, so I'm going to take down the opacity a little bit. And next thing I want to do is create a glow effect. So this is called the Norton effect, and I'm going to press Control. Actually, I'm just gonna do it from this layer. I have a Orton effect plugin or action, so I'm just gonna use that. And what the Orton effect does, it kind of just makes a blurred version of the layer and overexposes it, and then change the blending mode to multiply, and then it creates kind of a glow over the brighter areas of the image. So I'm going to brighten it back up. I want it only to affect the Orton layer. I'm going to take the base layer and also increase the curves, or increase it. I'm also just going to reduce the opacity of the Orton effect so I can bring it back some more of the detail. And then I'm going to group the layer, the orton effect layer. And then I also want to select the curves layer and then create a layer mask on the group I just made. And also I'm going to fix that kind of halo. It's by using a soft brush. And just gonna run the brush along the area. I'm just gonna throw the curve adjustment in that layer too. Okay, that just fixed it. So that orton effect really adds a cool glow to it. So this isn't a realistic representation of the Milky Way, but I really like that effect. And finally, I'm going to make a copy of the base layer. So this is gonna be sharpening. I'm gonna go to the high pass sharpening, or a high pass filter. Actually, I need to desaturate that layer. So I'm just gonna press Control or Control Shift U to desaturate that, and then go to the high pass filter. A radius around 1 is okay. And then I'm going to change the blending mode to linear light. So now the stars are much sharper, and I can adjust the opacity. Maybe 50% is pretty good. Okay, so that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and subscribe and like for more.